Hello, Kidney Warriors. James here, Dadvice TV, and this is Dadvice TV Live. Great to have all you here, and if you're new, welcome. I have kidney disease. I'm a kidney patient just like you, and every week we come on here, we talk about all sorts of stuff related to kidney disease to help you better understand kidney disease, better manage it, and improve your quality of life. Now, if you are new, please take a moment. Hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. I love seeing the number of subscribers keep going up and up and up. Now tonight, it's Tuesday, so my co-host, she's here every Tuesday, is a renal dietitian, and boy, do we have a hot topic to discuss tonight. So we're going to jump right on into it, and let's get her here on the screen. Let's welcome Jen Hernandez of PlantPoweredKidneys.com. Hey, Jen.
Hey, James. Hey, everybody. So good to be back this toasty Tuesday evening. It hit like 85 here, which is the warmest it's been in a while. So it's getting pretty warm. It's getting pretty warm here.
Yeah, warm here in Ohio. We hit, I think, 82 today, and it's going to be rainy tomorrow and then pouring cats and dogs on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we're in Kentucky. We're just below you. So it's going to be pretty much that same situation. But anyway, for those of you that are new and haven't met me yet, my name is Jen. I'm a renal dietitian. So I am a registered dietitian in the United States, also board certified in renal nutrition. So I have a private practice. It's all online. I see my clients across the United States. And I have my Plant Powered Kidneys course, which is for those in the United States and internationally. We're actually in week 2 right now. Our students are learning all about salt and fluid and a lot of details in there. It's really, really exciting. So that is something that I do love to do besides working privately with clients. But I also have a free Facebook group, which you are more than welcome to join if you would like to be a part of this growing, positive, friendly kidney community. It is absolutely wonderful. I love jumping in there and just kind of peeking through, listening and watching and looking at everybody's success stories and their pictures of their good food. It is such a great Facebook group to be a part of. Have you seen the pictures lately, James?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, you were cooking something today. With lentils? Was that
oh,
you?
yeah,
Yes.
I just posted that. Yeah, I just put up on my story because right before I was like, all right, I've got to get dinner figured out before we get into Dadvice because I'm going to come out and I'm going to be hungry. We always talk about food. It's like, I got a plan. So I made a lentil shepherd's pie and I'm so excited. So
Yeah, for anyone out there, if you're looking for ideas, positive support, Plant Powered Kidneys Facebook group is definitely the place you want to go. There's so much great information in there. And as you learn more about kidney disease and more about nutrition, you're going to realize that the things you can eat, it's really, really vast, the things you can choose from. And it really just comes down to, hey, let's come up with some different ideas. I don't want to eat the same thing all the time. And that Facebook group has all sorts of great ideas, suggestions, and I love the photos. I love learning how to cook. When I started my journey with kidney disease, I couldn't cook diddly squat. All I could do was hit like 4 minutes on the microwave and start or hit the popcorn button. That was it. It either came out of a drive-through window, which was awful, or it came out of the microwave. Now I'm cooking up all sorts of things. I have been, I think it's like over 3 weeks now, making all sorts of great things. Just talked to my doctor about 2 hours ago. He's like, hey, cutting down on the carbs. We've got to get you exercising more. I'm glad to see you're cooking. You're doing better. And groups like that, like Plant Powered Kidneys Facebook group, helped me learn so much about cooking and inspired me to try things.
Yeah.
And I've tried a lot of things that I never would have imagined before, and I'm so happy for it.
Good. I'm so glad. I really do love that group, and everybody is just really, really positive and supportive. So if that is a kind of group that you're looking for on Facebook, it's free, it is private, so you've got to answer the questions in order to be considered, because I keep out the bots by making sure that people can do functions of responding to things. So make sure you do that, and then you will automatically be in the group.
Yep. Awesome. Now, tonight's topic is keto analogs, which I get emails all the time asking, James, what's your opinion? What do you know about these? And I am a student tonight. I know very little about them, so I am eager to learn about them and how, it's a medical food and how it can help to keep kidney function, which was like, that is awesome, but not always for everybody.
Right.
And
we definitely got to talk about some of those things.
Yep. And it starts with a low protein diet, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Which we did do a video about not too long ago, but I'm sure, you do a great job, James. You have your whole database in there and you have our videos together. So if you want to go back and get a bit more of a deep dive into the low protein diet, you can go back and check that video out because that's kind of a precursor into tonight's topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the low protein diet, but that's not what this whole chat tonight is dedicated to. So make sure if you want to watch tonight, at least make a note for yourself to go back and watch that video as well, or you can check the article on my blog. Either way, make sure you get that information because this is a partnership. This is not just keto analogs.
Right. And keto analogs, they play a part of a low or very low protein diet. They're not part of just a regular, hey, I'm watching my sodium, watching my potassium, watching my phosphorus style diet, correct?
Exactly it. The biggest focus is the low protein aspect. There are other micronutrients that we will need to consider and be mindful of when starting something like keto analogs, and we'll definitely dive into that whole subject when it comes to the labs to track everything there as well.
Yep. And so how much protein? When do I need? I guess when is the diet low protein that I need to consider keto analogs?
Okay, so first there's low protein and then there's very low protein, and these guidelines are coming from Kadoki. So sometimes I'll tell you guys, hey, just throw Kadoki out there with your doctor when you ask them, like, hey, what did Kadoki guidelines say? Like, what's the head honchos? What are they talking about? Kadoki is the National Kidney Foundation's Kidney Disease Outcomes Quality Initiative. And this is something where there's a group of medical professionals and scientists and researchers that go through all of the evidence related to these fundamentals with nutrition, dialysis, medications, all kinds of treatment. Like if you look at the Kadoki guidelines, it is hundreds, literally hundreds of pages just for one subject, like the nutrition updates, which they published late 2020, actually. They did some updates. In these updates is where they included some more definitions of the low protein, very low protein diet, and then mentioning keto analogs. So the low protein diet is anywhere from 0.55 to under 0.8 grams per kilogram of your body weight. So just really quickly, to get your weight in kilograms, you take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2. And that gives you your kilograms. And then
I just did mine. I don't like the number. It's better than my pounds.
Well, there you go. So then you would take that number and multiply it by this range to get that range of what your low protein would look like. Now, there are some circumstances to take into consideration with this low protein range. So for example, if you have maybe a little bit of extra body weight on you, there may be some adjustments there. This is where it's really important to work with a dietitian so that they can kind of calculate those adjustments based on other metabolic considerations that may need to be taken into consideration. But to get a ballpark, to getting a starting range, that's going to be where the low protein range is for you. Now, the low protein diet, according to Kadoki, is recommended for people stages 3 to 5 not on dialysis. So again, most of this talk, 99% of this talk is going to be about people not on dialysis. I will mention dialysis briefly, but for the majority, it's non-dialysis. So this is the low protein diet. Now we have the very low protein diet, and that's between 0.28 to 0.43 grams per kilogram of your body weight. So The other thing that needs to be in tandem with the low protein diet, according to Kadoki, is adding those keto analogs. And then that total should result in 0.55 to about zero point 0.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So it's kind of this subtraction and figuring out that difference that you need
Mm-hmm.
to fill in that gap. And that's where the keto analogs come into play. So that's just the basics of the low protein diet. We did a whole other video about it. I will say, just as a caveat, when we talk about the people that should be on the low protein diet, it's those stages 3 to 5. But the biggest caveat is that it's going to be people who are metabolically stable, meaning you don't have a disease like cancer. If you have diabetes, it needs to be very, very well controlled. So if your A1C is in the 8s or 9s, the low protein diet is probably not going to be the most advantageous for you. So if your A1C is very well controlled, this could be something. And I'm always going to say could, because we don't know your history. We don't know what's going on for you. You're going to have to talk with your own healthcare team to see what this would look like and if it's appropriate for you. If in the lines of the metabolically stable, it also means you haven't had a hospitalization for at least a few weeks. So no, no weird emergencies or things like that that are coming up. So that is also metabolically stable, and no type of infection that's going on in this time. So as long as those things aren't happening, if you have stage 3, 4, 5 of CKD, this may be an appropriate diet intervention for you.
Yep. And our doctor or our own renal dietitian, our healthcare team, our individual ones, they're the ones who would let us know if this is the right kind of diet for us, correct?
Exactly. So even though there is research on that, there's a lot of these but if and what if and let's take this into consideration. So we can't just come across with this blanket statement, and I can't just tell everybody here, you've got to go on this low protein diet and this is gonna, this is gonna take care of everybody here. No, because everybody's different. We've talked about that. The person who has stage 4 for this reason, who has stage 4 for this reason, if they're chatting, they could be on totally different diet plans
Mm-hmm.
because of their own health conditions. So everybody's different. Your healthcare team knows the most about your healthcare situations. So that's who you're going to want to talk with about this. Now, doctors may not be aware of this protocol. So I do want to just kind of put that little caveat out there. They may not know about keto analogs. They're pretty new in the United States. They've been around a bit longer in European countries. So don't be offended if your doctor doesn't know about it. Just like I say, refer back to the Kadoki guidelines and say, well, what does Kadoki say about keto analogs? And kind of send them on a little bit of a homework assignment for them to do research on how this is part of those dietary guidelines, because another part of those dietary guidelines is referring to a dietitian.
Yep, there we go. So what are keto analogs? Because it's not keto as in the keto diet.
No,
This is something completely different.
totally different, no association whatsoever. A keto analog is basically a simplified version of an amino acid. So amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. So they get put all together to make this very complex protein structure, which is one of the macronutrients. So with these, we want to make sure that we're including some proteins in our diet, but the challenge with the whole proteins is that they have that the nitrogen, which attributes to our blood urea nitrogen and to just additional stress on the kidneys. The keto analogs are these amino acids. They are the protein building blocks, but they don't have that nitrogen component, so that they don't add on to that stress for the kidney. It doesn't add on to that extra filtration. So it's easier for the body to take them in and to utilize them as amino acids, which are very, very important for our body. They serve a ton of different roles in the body. So it is important to get them, but we need to make sure that we're not overloading the kidneys with too much protein in general.
Yep. And there's two types of amino acids, correct?
Yes, there are essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So the essential amino acids, and I will have to read off my list. So, okay, really quick, I already said about this morning when I did a live for this. I had to memorize these in my undergrad. And this is where you come up with the mnemonics and you come up with all these things to, you guys, I don't list off the essential amino and non-essential every day. So I do have to read them off because I do not have them memorized. So the 9 essential amino acids are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Those are the 9 essential amino acids. And by essential, it means our body cannot make them. So we need to eat them. We need to get them into our diet. And that can come from a variety of foods. People don't typically have like a certain amino acid deficiency because we eat, for one, we do for the most part eat a variety of foods with proteins in them that include these amino acids. And then we also are able to have that variety for the most part that gets those different types of essential amino acids into our body. So it's not very common that we have a amino acid deficiency. The other side are the non-essential amino acids, and these are considered non-essential because our body is actually able to make them from other amino acids and from glucose. So there's 9 essential and 11 non-essential, so 20 amino acids in total. The 11 non-essential amino acids are alanine, arginine, asparagine, aspartate, cysteine, glutamate, glutamine, glycine, proline, serine, and tyrosine. Now, the majority of these are synthesized from glucose, except tyrosine comes from phenylalanine. So this is kind of a phenylalanine is essential, and as long as you get that essential one in, it'll help create tyrosine.
Well, I'm glad you had that list. I could never memorize those. And I took a quick look at the list. I would have mispronounced a third of them.
I tell you, like it was a lot in my schooling. It was a lot of those studies, and even writing those up, I was having flashbacks to my undergrad years and all the studying with this.
And that just underlines a bit more of why we need to work with renal dietitians. This is not the training that doctors get. They specialize on this is broken. What can I do to fix it or make it at least better? Where a renal dietitian is really diving into the building blocks of our body.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah, we spend hours and hours and hours on all of this stuff, and then hours on all of the food aspects of it too. So doctors will know about amino acids, but they're not going to dive into where to get them from the food, where the diet, like things to focus on, all of that stuff. That's not what their time is meant for.
Yep. So how are keto analogs different from amino acids?
So as we talked about, the keto analogs are essentially a fraction of the amino acids. And amino acids are, a lot of people think about these as the over the counter supplements that you can find, like, oh, I see branched chain amino acids and I see these essential amino acid supplements. And those may have some benefit to them. But right now we're talking specifically about the keto analog type that has the nitrogen component removed, and that is considered a medical food. The BCAAs and other kinds are not necessarily, they're not qualified by the FDA as a medical food.
Aha. So when should we take keto analogs? Is it after we get placed on this low protein diet or before, or is it just part of it?
Usually it's going to be either when you get started with the low protein or maybe a little bit afterwards. Sometimes that first intervention is just bringing down the protein to a slightly lower amount. So as I mentioned with the Kadoki guidelines, they talked about the low protein diet and then the very low protein diet with keto analogs. So in many cases, again, it's just a matter about reducing that protein to begin with, and then adding in the keto analogs if that's the next step that needs to be taken. Many times that when I work with clients, what I first look at are all of the dietary opportunities that we have. So this includes looking at the sodium, looking at potassium, looking at the phosphorus, looking at the carbohydrates, looking at healthy fats, all of these other areas that we can focus on first before adding the keto analogs, because I'll get into this in a minute, but they are not cheap. It is something that you will pay for. So this is not the first intervention that I look at. because I want to make sure we cover all of the other basics first, all of the other essentials, because if we jump right to the keto analogs, we could be missing a lot of opportunities that could benefit just from those dietary changes. So that all being said, it can start at stage 3. So stage 3 may have some benefits with the low protein diet and the keto analogs. Mostly they're looking at, in stage 3, just the low protein diet, not always adding the keto analogs. In some cases, if there's like a big drop in your GFR and your kidney function, that could be an indicator that keto analogs can come on board and help be supportive. But there are many other factors to look at before stage 3. So if you have stage 3, this is not the first line of defense. You definitely want to talk with your healthcare provider about this beforehand, because you are in an area where you have a lot of great opportunity for other changes that you can make before putting in the money for this expensive supplement. Now, stage 4 and stage 5, these are the later stages of CKD. So stage 4 is between 15 to 29 for GFR. Stage 5 is under 15. Now, these are the later stages that have been shown to have benefits from keto analogs, but paired with either the low protein or very low protein diet, depending on the situation, and that evaluation will come from a dietitian. So with that being said, and as we talk more moving forward about benefits and things like that, stage 4 and stage 5 is really the prime candidate who could benefit from the low protein or very low protein diet with keto analogs. The last group that may benefit is those people on dialysis who have residual renal function. So even when you're on dialysis, you may have a small amount of kidney function that's still ongoing, and the keto analogs may be beneficial in a lot of reasons to support your kidney function. I am not saying they will bring you off of dialysis by taking these. This is something that can help your quality of life, but does not stop dialysis.
Now, by residual kidney function, that means I'm still producing urine. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have some urine production, and you can also talk with the doctor. If you're on dialysis, talk with your nephrologist about the idea of keto analogs and asking about that residual function to see if it's something that, one, you would even qualify for, and then two, would you benefit from? Because your healthcare team will be the ones to help you evaluate if that's something worth looking into. Again, this is an expensive supplement, so you don't want to put your money into something that's not going to be good for you. It's not going to do anything for you, because it's a lot of money to put in for something that won't have any benefit.
Yeah, and I've seen the prices, and we'll be getting there, everybody.
Yeah.
When Jen says they're expensive, they're expensive.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. You don't self-prescribe these things, because then you're just wasting your money.
Exactly.
All right. So when should we not take keto analogs?
So first of all, if you have good functioning kidneys, then this is not the time to be looking into keto analogs. There's a lot of cases where your GFR could be pretty high and you still have kidney disease. So stage 1 or stage 2, this is not a product for you. This is not a supplement for you. This is a protein addition to this lower protein diet. And in these cases, the evidence in Kudoki, we're not talking about a lower protein diet for these higher stages of CKD, stage 1 and stage 2. And if you have healthy functioning kidneys, say you have a transplant and everything's looking great, this is not something for you. This would be paying for an expensive protein supplement that's not going to really yield any different results.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
One more. I do have the caveat too. If you have uncontrolled or high calcium or magnesium levels, this is also time to just give pause, because these keto analogs that we're going to start diving into, they're either calcium based or magnesium based. So when I talked about that nitrogen piece being removed, they've got to put something back there to keep it stable. So calcium and magnesium are two of the ingredients, I would say, that get added in. So if you have high levels of these nutrients, and then you end up taking a supplement that adds on to that, that can just
Oh,
cause a lot of problems. So you want to make sure, again, this is another reason to talk with your doctor about them first, because we're going to dive into this. You've got to be monitoring those kinds of labs.
yep. Now you mentioned some benefits. What
Mm-hmm.
are the possible benefits of going on a low protein diet? Working with your healthcare team, they say, yep, it's the right thing, and taking keto analogs with it.
So this is the pretty exciting stuff, because this is what people really want to hear. Like, what can we even do? What will we get from taking something like this? So these benefits are benefits that have been researched, studied, and come out through evidence. So one of them, everybody wants to hear this, having a slower GFR decline. So if you can stop that GFR from dropping, and if you can get into a maintenance of your CKD, this is a potential opportunity. Another one of those things, kind of in line with this, is having less creatinine and less BUN. So having those levels both come down. You can also have lower oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is something that happens in the body that is kind of an inflammation of sense, and it's something that our body can be continuously fighting. But having this less oxidative stress will be very, very helpful. In addition to that, there is less metabolic acidosis, which we've talked a lot about with the bicarbonate. We've talked about how the kidneys do with kidney disease push towards this state of metabolic acidosis. But with the keto analogs, they have seen that there is a lower chance of that. Another one of my favorites as a dietitian, better phosphorus and better PTH, parathyroid hormone level control. These are, as I call them, the silent killer of the silent killer. Phosphorus is something we talk about, but we don't really think about. It doesn't come up with a lot of symptoms until way down the road, when it's been kind of under the surface for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, and that can lead to some really, really bad, ugly complications. But the keto analogs are shown to improve those levels, which is awesome for cardiovascular health, bone health, heart health. It's just fantastic.
That is really good, because phosphorus, I always call it the sneaky snake. I don't know where I got that
Yeah.
from, but it's the sneaky snake because there's so many artificial phosphorus-based ingredients placed in our foods and beverages
Hmm.
and stuff. And you got to keep an eye out for them. And it's great that this may be able to allow us to better manage that phosphorus.
Exactly. Yes, that is very much the case. And it kind of makes sense if we think really quick back to the low protein diet or the very low protein diet that somebody would be on with the keto analogs. Protein is a source of phosphorus. People forget that phosphorus is found in animal meat or found in protein foods. And so when you're reducing that, it does kind of make sense that it would naturally be lowered anyway, because your diet won't have as much of it in the system. But with even some of the supplements, the keto analogs that are calcium based, they do see good calcium balance too, which calcium balance helps with that PTH.
Cool. And then this can also help with insulin.
Yes, yes. So insulin resistance is a big problem for people with kidney disease. And some people have diabetes coming into it. Some people develop diabetes or insulin resistance later on, even if they didn't have it for so long. Then they get kidney disease, and then they have these blood sugar issues. In dialysis, many people get their A1C evaluated. If we see that there's a cause, like we see their glucose levels high or something, that is telling us that something isn't right here. So it's something, unfortunately, that can come up later with kidney disease. So having a good insulin balance, having that good, I'm trying to think of the right word to use here, for the body to be able to use insulin really well, that's really, really helpful. And the keto analogs have also been shown to help with blood pressure. So we're talking about the two biggest causes of CKD, and the fact that these keto analogs have been shown to reduce to both of those situations, the blood sugars and blood pressure.
Yep. Awesome.
So
Any other benefits?
yeah, I got a couple more. Uh, so another one, which a lot of people ask all the time about, is proteinuria. So the protein that
Mhm.
leaks out through the urine. The keto analogs have been shown to help lower or lower the amount of protein that leaks in the urine. So that's also a benefit. And then finally, of course, with that, slow GFR decline with getting it more stabilized, there is a delayed need for dialysis. So that's really the point that a lot of people are looking at, is to delay dialysis. And this has been shown that it can help in that process.
Yeah, that right there is awesome. And these benefits, these are backed by research. These are not just made up, because a lot of supplements out there, especially in the kidney community, we've all seen the ads. There might even been one running while you guys were watching this video, promoting some magic herb or something that does some. Many of those, there's nothing backing them. Keto analogs are backed by research, correct?
Yeah, keto analogs do have the evidence, and it does continue to grow, which is really, really good. Every year they're looking at the new studies, and they are continuing to do more research with these. And the great thing is that the more research that's coming out, the more researchers are interested in researching it to really see the capabilities of what keto analogs can do. So it's definitely exciting to see more of this information coming out, and hopefully it just gets publicized enough. One of the things that I really love about one of the keto analogs that we're going to talk about tonight is how they're so transparent about a lot of research. They have so many great links and articles, and we'll get into that. But it's always good when you're looking at supplement companies to look for that transparency in the research and look for, like, okay, where are they making these claims? Because more often than not, what's going to happen is, we even did this, I think, on one of the lives, right, James? Or we scrolled down and we zoomed in, and it said, like,
Yes.
not regulated by the FDA, and it basically said, like, these claims are totally made up. That's what it came out to, right?
That's how they protect themselves. They're like, hey.
Yeah. I mean, we're just saying things like, and because supplements aren't regulated, although keto analogs, they will specify, because they're a medical food, they are kind of under the FDA. So they use FDA approved ingredients, and they're in FDA facilities. So they are closest to being monitored, and that's why they fall into the medical food category.
Yeah. Now, are there any things that people think keto analogs help, but they haven't been proven to help? Kind of the myths. Are there any of those we need to bust?
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, like, keto analogs are part of this whole process and taking care of CKD. This is not a one-stop cure-all. So don't think that you can just jump into ordering keto analogs and everything's going to be hunky-dory. So some of the things that the research has shown that there's no benefit for are cholesterol levels, which many people with CKD will have abnormal cholesterol levels, whether it's the cholesterols or triglycerides, HDL, LDL. It doesn't help with those. It also doesn't help with albumin, which I was talking with some people about recently, kind of trying to disconnect that idea of albumin and protein in the diet. Albumin has to do with inflammation and other things in the body. In the studies, they didn't find any really solid connection to say keto analogs would change albumin levels significantly. So it's kind of dissociated from that. Another one that is really, really important is anemia. Keto analogs do not help prevent anemia. They don't help with hemoglobin levels. So again, this is part of a treatment plan for CKD. This is not the treatment plan for CKD. So anemia is something really, really important to take care of. We've talked about this in past episodes as well, anemia and the importance and things that you can do. So that's another episode if you want to take a note to go back and watch, because there's other tips of focusing on how to take care of that side of CKD. And then finally, they didn't find any significant changes with lean body mass or BMI. So that's going to be another thing to consider. And it's very important to think about, again, a low protein or very low protein diet. Many people will start pulling food away. But just like we've talked about other diets, you've really got to think about what you're putting back into your diet, what you're going to replace it with. And that's a very important thing, because you want to give your body enough fuel. You need to give it enough energy so that it can fight these infections, it can fight the inflammation, it can fight CKD. You've got to give it that energy. So those reasons really just show that you can't assume that the keto analogs are going to clear everything off the board.
Yeah, and the nice thing is all 4 of those areas, there's medications that have been proven to help in those areas. As a matter of fact, I got some labs a month ago, and there were some things that were out of whack. Well, it's one thing out of whack. We've been working on it. 2 things out of whack. One we're working on. Got new labs today. I got my little Band-Aid there. Seeing how things are going. But these things are all things, and one of my things that's out of whack is cholesterol. These are all things that are medications that can address that. So it's not like the keto analogs are not a cure-all, which is, just how things are. But it's great that these things that it doesn't really help are all things that doctors are pretty good at taking care of and helping with.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there are different types of keto analogs. As a matter of fact, Lorna posted that she takes a kind called Ketosterol. I could be butchering the name.
Okay.
I'll never do voiceovers because I can butcher names. Awful.
The way I pronounce it is Ketosterol, but it could be
that sounds better.
Potato. Who knows? Who knows?
Hey, I'm the guy that was on a road trip to Washington, D.C., and I was reading a map to my friend, and I remember saying, hey, we got to turn on Potomac Drive. And they're like, Potomac Drive? You mean Potomac? I'm like, oh, yeah, Potomac. Potomac. I'm like Bill and Ted's Adventure style pronunciations. But what are the different types of keto analogs that are available?
Okay, so I'm going to be focusing really on the ones that are available in the United States, the ones that I can myself research and be able to get information. So the first one that I'll talk about is Keto Arena. Keto Arena is a calcium-based keto analog, and they have a powder and a tablet form, and they use essential amino acids along with a few other components to make the supplement. This type of keto analog was developed by a board certified nephrologist here in the United States. And I do in my blog include the list of the keto analogs that are included. I'm not going to read them off, but you can definitely check that out if you'd like to see that list. The great thing, I personally really like Keto Arena's website. This is a great resource for patients, for doctors, for dietitians. They have a wonderful little video there that you can watch that talks about keto analogs, and I think it's like a 2-minute little cartoon video. It's cute. But they are the only one that provides a powder or tablet option. The powder is their long-standing product, and they've had it for quite a while now. I want to say, several years at least. But it's been working pretty well. I've personally recommended this to clients, and they've done well with it. Keto Arena just recently started a tablet option as well. So if you don't like the powder, if you don't want to mix it into the water or juice, then you can take the tablet. So for the powder, the typical dose, according to their website, is a scoop 3 times a day with food. You always take keto analogs with your meals as part of the digestion with your other proteins and with your other foods. With the tablets, the standard dosing is 3 tablets 3 times a day with meals. So the thing about the standard or typical dosing is, like we mentioned with the low protein diet, it's actually a calculation based on your protein needs. But they've said on the website, this is typically what people either start at or what they maintain at. So that's what they usually go off for calculating and with the recommendations. But that's something that you can look at. Definitely, please talk with your doctor or dietitian. Don't be trying to self-dose, even though they do have the standard dosing. Now, the reason I'm saying you do want to talk with a healthcare professional is the cost. James, are you coming back on to?
No, I'm just coming for the reaction because you actually did a broadcast earlier today on your Facebook page covering a lot of this, and I tuned in and I watched the part with the cost, and my eyes were giant, like, whoa. Yeah. And this, again, this is where you want to
talk with your team. You want to make sure this is the right thing because you don't want to buy something and be like, wow, that's money down the drain. So right now, Keto Arena, and the reason I say that is because they can change their prices whenever. But right now at this live, the cost is $145.50 for a 90 serving container. That is equivalent to a 1 month supply. Okay. They do offer, I believe, free shipping. So there's that. If you purchase in bulk, so at least 2 canisters in one order, they do give you a 30% discount. So that brings it down to price per canister or price per month of $99.75. So there's that. Okay.
It's a bit high. It's like a small Kia lease.
Yeah, exactly. So this is something to not take lightly. We're going to get into the other prices too for other ones. Some of the things about Keto Arena that makes it different, as I mentioned, it is the only one that's powder or tablet form. The powder, just so you know, is a vanilla flavor, and it has the low calcium content. It doesn't have magnesium. So if you have magnesium issues, this could be something that might be a better fit for you. But they do advise that you still want to track both calcium and magnesium. And if you are interested in purchasing it, honestly, I'm just going to say this across the board for any of them. Well, for this one and Albutrix, you want to go directly to their website. Don't go through Amazon. Don't go through a third party. There's a reason my Amazon shop doesn't include these supplements in there, because I don't advise that these be purchased through a third party. You don't know what they put in there, what they took out, what they put back in. It's all a big question mark. You want to go directly to the manufacturer and order straight through them. And you can order with Keto Arena online or over the phone. From what I've experienced, their customer service is good. So, it's best to go straight through them.
Yeah, awesome. So now we're going to step up to one that's a little more expensive. Now, the next one is the one I've heard about that I think most people have heard about.
Yeah. So the next one is Albutrix, and this is a magnesium-based keto analog for the most part that comes in a tablet form. And it was made by, you guys probably have heard of him, Lee Hull, who wrote the book Stopping Kidney Disease. So this is something that he promotes, he talks about, and he sells.
I've got the book somewhere, but it's not in arm's reach.
I have mine.
It's about 2 inches thick. Lots of data, lots of research. Yeah. This is not a novel to read on an airplane.
It's a textbook. And I will be totally transparent, you guys. I bought it. I haven't read it yet. Like, this is just something that's sitting around, and I keep thinking, oh, I'll get to it, but I got a lot of stuff to do. This is a lot. This is pretty heavy. So I'll be very transparent. I have it. I haven't read it, but this is the guy who created Albutrix, and he is a patient with FSGS, and he found the research about the keto analogs and made Albutrix. So he does have, as I mentioned, 3 different types of keto analogs, and they're formulated slightly differently with a little tweak to the amino acids. So one of them, he doesn't include tyrosine, I think it is. I believe that's what it is. He had it mentioned, and I don't know if I had it written down, but he does have slightly different formulas between them. I haven't been able to dive into too much of the research for the evidence of it, but there is that available. The calcium versus magnesium base, so again, that part that attaches to the amino acids, it will be more magnesium based in the lower stage. So it's Albutrix S3, Albutrix S4, Albutrix S5, and those are talking about the different stages. So stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. So with those, it's going to include calcium, magnesium, and nitrogen nutrition information, and they're going to be slightly different based off of either being magnesium or calcium based. So that is probably one of the most interesting things, is that they're kind of formulated for different dosing. And last I checked on the website, he's also including a bottle of a a renal multivitamin, which I haven't looked very much into. We've talked here about our favorites, so it's kind of hard for me to break away from the ones that are tried and true. So, I mean, the fact that it's included, I think is fine. I don't know enough about it to be like, this is going to be the next big thing or whatever the case is, but it's obviously a new product that he's getting out with the stuff that he's already getting out there. So there's that.
And this one's a little more pricier than the last one.
Yeah, so the dosing's also a little bit different too. It starts with 2 tablets 3 times a day, and he looks at these tablets as having a direct protein correlation, which is a bit different from the other from Keto Arena and the way they explain their dosing and how to calculate it. So his is a little bit, it seems a little more cut and dry, but the way to get to that cut and dry is a little more confusing. For the cost, he says for 180 tablets that comes in a bottle, so it's about a month's supply, it's $199. So it's a bit more than the other one. So we went from about 150 to 199. He does offer a discount. I'll say they do offer a discount. So if you set up a recurring monthly subscription, the price is dropped to $179.10, which is about a 10% discount. So if you set up that automation to get it on a recurring basis, then you can get that 10% off. So there's that. I've heard a lot of people using this product. It's not one that I have typically recommended. Keto Arena for me, and this is just my own personal experience with my clients and from what I've looked at, I just really like Keto Arena's website, to be honest. Like I refer to it for research for clients to look at, and I've had clients report really good customer service with Keto Arena. So that's kind of my go-to one. But Albutrix may be an option that could work for some people. So that is another opportunity there.
And it's interesting that they have a version for stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. I also know that Lee Holm and the team have been doing some more research. I get emails that they're updating and they're working on the start of a program and collecting more data. So it's great to see them still working more on these keto analogs to try to learn more, find better uses, more uses, and that they have these unique versions. I like that part of it, even though I've never used them, but I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I would definitely be excited to see what comes from those studies that look at those different components to see how the results, to see what differs really, and to see if there's any benefits that do come from somebody with stage 3 taking either the S3 or the S4, and what's the outcome there. I don't know the details of all the studies, if that is what's being studied, but I am happy to hear that they are continuing to look into it because it definitely deserves more research.
Yeah, it is quite an investment. Being a car person, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, now we're up to a Hyundai Elantra with a lot more safety features. That's where that lease payment falls into. Maybe it's a pretty okay load, Volkswagen, a small one. That's where I'm seeing. I was like, whoo. It's a bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what my husband does. Like if we see something pricey, that's a car payment.
Exactly.
Like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. Now, what was the third one that you had?
Okay, so the third and final one in this kind of synopsis of the different keto analogs that are available in the US. This last one is called Ketosterol. So we had somebody in the comments say that they've been using it. So
Lorna.
Lorna. So this is a calcium-based keto analog, and it was actually created from Fresenius, who is a dialysis company. Like they're a really, really big company. They do a lot of things in the renal and medical world. So the interesting thing about their supplements is they come in 100 tablet packages, but it's a little bit off from the dosing, which I thought was kind of strange. So like in the past two we talked about, it was basically the cost is the a month supply. Here, the dosing is anywhere from 4 to 8 tablets 3 times a day. So that could be up to 24 tablets per day. right?
Oh my
That's a lot of pills.
goodness. I don't
That's a lot of pills.
I feel like it sounds like a meal.
Yeah, well, it's taken with your meal, so it kind of is a meal.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, 4 to 8 tablets, and that's a pretty big range too. So this, to me, this one I'm really not familiar with. I haven't had people use it that I know of. Another challenge with that is this is the only keto analog that's available by prescription only. You have to have a doctor write out the prescription. I don't know if that means insurance will cover it. I legitimately have zero ideas about that because I've never seen it be written out. I've never seen it get covered. I even in Keto Arena's website, they talk about how it's a medical food and you pay cash. You can get reimbursed, but it's not covered by insurance. And Albutrix is you pay by credit card. So this one, you do need to get it through like an online drug pharmacy. It's not it's made through, I think it was like a company, like a Fresenius company in India. So it's a little more away from the US, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just, to me, it seemed like there's a bit more challenges in being able to actually obtain it if you're in the United States, because these different online pharmacies, I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to ordering medications through online pharmacies if it's something that I am not familiar with and I don't know. So if you talk to your doctor and they recommend Ketosterol and they give you, here's a link to the pharmacy, you should order it. Or if they call it into a pharmacy for you, like that could be something that might work. But this is not something that I'm personally familiar with. So I think this one's a bit more familiar for people outside of the US.
Yeah, and boy, it's expensive, this one.
Yeah. So, we
'Cause
talked
that
about that
dosing.
dosing. Yeah.
Oh,
And it comes in 100 tablets per box, right? So if you're taking up to 24 in a day,
that could be
you're
4
gonna
days.
right, you're gonna run through it. So just looking at the starting dose, it was coming out to about $360 per month, even though
So,
when you just look at the box, it's only $90. And you're thinking, oh, that's the cheapest option. But for that equivalent full month supply, then it was coming out
oh,
to 360.
that's on the low end. That's now
Yeah.
we're leasing an Acura, like an RDX with a lot of options. We've got leather seats. Uh, oh, that makes it that's hard. So more reasons why you have to work with your healthcare team to make sure
Yes.
keto analogs are the right option for you. And you need to stick to that diet, and you got to stick to it. Don't be cheating, because this is becoming a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very, very important because you're taking a medication that's adding protein to your diet. So in the very beginning, we talked about low protein diet. What you're getting there plus the keto analogs is how much protein you're actually taking in. That's what you have to pay attention to. And if you go over that, that is not going to be a benefit. So it's very, very important to be paying attention to how much protein you're getting in your diet in correlation with the keto analogs. And then really quick for the Ketosterol, if anybody out there, I think Lorna had put something about how she got it with a 35% card, a discount
Mhm.
card. If you guys do have some personal stories that you'd be happy to share, I know I would love to see them here in the comments, or if you want to drop them in the blog comments on my website, just to kind of give some other people's stories there. It's like I said, it's not something I'm familiar with. So if you have a story that could kind of shed a little bit more light into your experience, then, or James, maybe with you asking some of the nephrologists that come on Dadvice about
Yeah,
their experience in ordering keto analogs and
I
what they
I
can say
bet you.
to it.
You got to talk to a renal dietitian to get this kind of information. I can tell from experience. Now we are getting
I did
close.
warn you that doctors might not know.
Exactly. We're getting close to top of the hour, and I want to fit a few things
Oh,
in here.
wow.
And Cheryl had a great comment. I want to mention that. A lot of kidney patients, and I see this all the time. Budgets are tight. I mean,
Yeah.
even here, I'm budgeting things, and a lot of kidney patients, especially when they're at that lower kidney function, they may be on disability. They may be retired. They're on a fixed income, and this, it can be a costly way to go. So it just reemphasizes work with your healthcare team if you're going to try keto analogs.
And even look at first that low protein diet, like just looking at switching more to plant-based, doing some of the things that we've talked about in other episodes that you can benefit just from diet changes. It can be really, really helpful. This is kind of like that next step, if we need to look into something advanced. And yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that it's not so accessible, but maybe the research moving forward will help make it accessible. I was reading an article about how they were testing adding some keto analogs into the dialysate fluid. So people going through treatment wouldn't even need to be taking anything. It was actually being put through the machine. So it got infused that way. And that was shown to be potentially helpful. But this is just kind of research that's just starting to come out, looking into how can this come out to the public more.
Yeah, and to touch on a few points before we run out of time here, and for everyone who wants to learn more, go to plantpoweredkidneys.com, Jen's website, click on blog, kidney disease. You'll see the blog post. You can also search for it. There's also a link in the description, which has it lists all those weird words that she said earlier, the types of amino acids. They're all listed there, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's important if I'm doing this to track my labs, correct? I need to get regular labs and work with my healthcare team.
Yes. And this is, again, really driving home the point, working with your healthcare team on this. You can't do it alone. You need a healthcare team that knows what's going on and that's supportive and behind this treatment plan. So the labs that you want to talk with your doctor about including and tracking, basically on a quarterly basis, maybe in 2 months to start, and then quarterly after that, or 4 months after that, something like that. You want to check your CBC, which is your complete blood count, so your hemoglobin, your hematocrit, red blood cell, white blood cell, all of that. You want to check your renal function panel, which we did a whole episode on that, broke down those different labs. You want to get that magnesium checked. Okay, because remember, magnesium is a part of the keto analogs. You want to get your prealbumin checked. That's going to look for inflammation. It's also going to be looking at any kind of protein wasting. And then your urinalysis. That's another one that you want to have routinely checked. Some of the other ones that should be checked maybe every 4 months, every 6 months, or once a year could be your albumin to creatinine ratio, your protein creatinine ratio, your iron, your intact PTH, your parathyroid hormone, again, which can be helpful with the keto analogs. It can be improved, but it doesn't change very fast. So that's why it doesn't get checked as frequently as the other labs. Your vitamin D should also be checked. If you have diabetes, your A1C should be checked, and your lipid panel. Again, we're not looking for improvements with the lipid panel with the keto analogs, but they do need to be continuously monitored. So I know we're coming up to the top. So I do have a list of questions I actually asked my Facebook group as I was writing this up, what do you guys want to know about keto analogs? And I took a lot of the questions about insurance and about how they're different from other protein supplements. And somebody asked about liquid aminos and how those are related to it. So all of that is up on the blog.
Yep. And I want to get one off-topic question to you.
Okay.
Samantha Jackson was on last night's show with Dr. Rosansky. We were talking about stuff. She had a question. And I said, come tonight. Jen, renal dietitian, she can help. Let me post her question up here. It's a little off topic, but I told her I'm going to try to get it in. So here you go, Samantha.
I'm ready.
It's kind of off topic. The benefits of turmeric for CKD. And I'm seeing this. There's certain things that kind of bubble up on the social media groups. There was the celery juice for a few weeks, the big thing. There was ginger, which we did a great video about ginger and that. Turmeric is one of those ones I'm seeing bubbling up a lot right now, and I'm seeing all sorts of information on social media. What is your opinion on turmeric and kidney disease?
Yeah. Okay. So really, really quick about it. This is something that we're actually looking in this spice. We're looking at the active ingredient or the active component, which is curcumin. So, in some cases, a supplement of curcumin can be helpful. But if you have problems with anemia, for example, this can be a hindrance because it kind of fights against that goal of improving anemia. So, you'd want to make sure you're not taking something like that if you have issues with anemia. I do recommend adding turmeric to your diet if you can. There's a golden latte recipe we have on our website. There's some different recipes we've talked about. I think you can probably search my website. I know we've talked about it in articles before. One of the articles we talked about cleansing the kidneys and all of those different ideas. So there's a whole bunch of supplements and herbs and things like that we have listed out there. And I want to say turmeric is on there. It's just been a while since we've run through all that information. I think so too. Yeah. So we do have that. I think in some cases it might be helpful, and I have recommended supplements of curcumin to some of my clients, but I don't recommend it across the board because it's not appropriate for everybody. So it's important that if it's something you're interested in taking as a supplement, you definitely want to speak with your healthcare provider about it to see if it's okay for you. And I would really recommend asking your doctor for a referral to a dietitian, because your doctor, sometimes they may just say like, I don't know, either they'll just say right away no, and it's not okay because they don't know, or they just don't know and they can't answer it. So if you ask to see a dietitian, ask for a referral for a renal dietitian, and the dietitian can take a bit more time looking into some of those supplements with you and talking about if it's the right thing for you.
Yeah, and as far as getting a referral to a dietitian, your primary care physician could do it. You may not, don't need to go to your nephrologist. And if you've got a few extra pounds on, this is a time to be proud of and say, hey, doc, can we code it to get it covered by my insurance to help me drop these extra pounds? Or if your blood sugar is a little out of whack, your primary care physician probably has a way to code it to help get it covered by your insurance. All right. That was a lot of information for tonight, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer Samantha's question. I hope she made it through the show and is still with us. If not, I'm sure she'll catch it later. But I want to thank everyone for being here. You can learn more. Go to plantpoweredkidneys.com. I'm going to bring Jen's website back up there on the screen so you can see it right over there on the side. She has a blog post that talks about these and has so much more that we couldn't get to tonight in the blog post. And it's something you can read at your leisure. Or if you like podcast, pull it up on your phone, highlight the whole page, and you may be able to just hit read to me. I do that with Siri to read websites to me when I'm doing things around the house. Oh, Samantha is here. Awesome. She just commented, yes, that she got to hear your answer. Otherwise, this is the last live broadcast for the week. Actually, for the month. There's no more till next week.
Oh my gosh, we're going to be in May.
Yes, May. And May is it potassium month?
5-1, potassium awareness.
Yep, coming right around the corner. All right, everybody. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, which we just talked about potassium last week, so maybe I should have coordinated that better, but whatever. We already have that up on the blog.
Yep, there we go. All right, I want to thank you, Jen, for being here. Great as always. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Take a moment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, go join the Plant Powered Kidneys Facebook group, and keep learning. We will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.